And a good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Too flipping hot. I don't like 60-degree weather on May the 3rd. Lane Ford, Fort Rembert along with you. Apologize for yesterday. We had some things come up on the baseball game. And, excuse me, we didn't do a show last night. I had some stuff I had to get taken care of. We will have a show tonight. Juju and I will have a show tonight. Try to have Chris Ramirez, head coach Lenore Ryan, won the SAC tournament, best record in school history. Yeah. They should get a pretty good seed in the playoffs for Division II baseball. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But big topics, I guess you would say, for this morning. The Carolina Panthers, I don't know who's running them now, but they're obviously getting some things right. We were talking about before we went on the air. Really pleased with the draft. And I think there's some other folks. Richie, Steven, good morning. The Panthers did the right thing. They had their pick of a left tackle, and they took the kid out of NC State. They took the right kid. Yep, they took the right kid. Yeah. And local boy played at Providence Day, if I'm not mistaken, and out of Charlotte, out of NC State, so he gets to stay at home. And then they traded in to pick up Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. Yep. And he's going to be a player. The only thing that concerns me a little bit about him, he is a project. But just like with Malik Willis, they're slight by NFL terms at quarterback at 6 foot, around 212, 215. Yeah. That's small by today's NFL standards. Now, you go back and you look, Russell Wilson's not big, Drew Brees was not big. It's different, but it's not the norm. It's kind of the exception. But at least they've got somebody. They only had two quarterbacks on the roster. They had Sam Darnold and P.J. Walker, and now they've got a third. Mm-hmm. They didn't put a ton of money into it. They didn't do something crazy and go up and reach and get one. And I guess the other big surprise, Malik Willis went to the Titans, if I'm not mistaken, in the third round. And then Sam Howell didn't go until the fifth round. Right. And he went to Cincinnati. Richie's watching. Richie will know because he's a Carolina boy. Andy, good morning. Glad to have you from High Point.
Well, the thing with Matt, Corral, the boy out of Ole Miss, there's a lot of talk of are the Panthers going to, do some kind of trade and get Baker Mayfield?
Oh, no.
Well, no, but I mean there was.
Washington. Thanks, Mason. Mason's watching this morning.
Which that's a good place for – for him to go, okay. Yeah. But as far as Mayfield goes, I just don't see bringing on someone with that stature, with all the baggage that comes in. Okay, and there's a lot of excuses and a lot of reasons that maybe Mayfield was not as successful as he needed to be. This many offensive coordinators in this many years, da-da-da-da-da. But it's about how you handle that situation is what defines, really what's going on with it. Not, there was things that he couldn't control that he couldn't help. Mm-hmm. But then there was a lot of things
he could
that he could have controlled that he could have helped. And you know what? For somebody that had the issues he had and the questions he had in college, with some of the inappropriate maybe scenes that were shown that he did, he handled a lot of things really well. To give Baker Mayfield credit. He did. Mm-hmm. Now this thing at the end where he started blaming people and this, that, and the other. That's,
looking for excuses.
Well, yeah, that's going to – that was more of a PR thing, to try to save some face and, just some lashing out, whatever. But back to the Panthers, I still think that the kid out of, Ole Miss, Matt Corral, played for Lane Kiffin, who is an NFL coach. His dad coached in the NFL for a long time.
And it's still the SEC.
And it's still the SEC. He had to prep against those defenses. Mm-hmm. And his arm strength, Laney, is very, very good. Forget about – the one thing that bothers me about the draft is when it comes to quarterbacks is all we hear about is his athleticism, his upside, his athletic. That is not what wins Super Bowls in the NFL. You can wish all you want, all right? whether it be me, you, third person, one can wish all they want that the zone read and the zone options are coming out of college and high school and going to the NFL. It ain't happening.
Mm-hmm.
When you got a defensive tackle that's 348 pounds and runs a 4.6 or 4.8, and then you got these other guys that run 4.5s and 4.4s, it ain't happening, okay? So just, get rid of the dream and get back to reality. Forget about how athletic your quarterback is. Is he a distributor?
Yeah.
Can he read defense? And this thing about Kenny Pickett, I'm going to lose my mind. Well, he holds the ball for 3.1 seconds. That's the longest in the NCAA, blah, blah, blah. Guys, let me tell you something. His offense at Pitt, his line was good enough for him to hold on the football so he can make the right decision. He didn't have
everything
to
has to be taken in context.
But they don't do that.
I know.
And let me tell you something. I believe analysts are extremely important for football.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe former players that dissect the game and coaches are extremely important for football. But that's where the analyst side and not having a fundamental understanding of the coaching side, that's where you have to really rely on people that have played and coached the game so they can help people say, well, when they start breaking – people that don't understand the game use a lot of statistics because that's their defense for lack of knowledge of – and that's okay because not everybody can play or coach it, of actually being there, prepping for it, whether it's a player or coach. Sorry, I'm done.
That's okay. The biggest thing is, does the player fit the scheme of the way you want to run things? Now, if you're – I always said this with Cam Newton. With Cam Newton, it was hard to have a backup for him because he was such a freak athlete, And so you have to have players that fit that mold.
Agreed.
And if you don't, I mean, you can look at all the stats and measurables and everything, and we talk about it in high school. If you have a set of kids that doesn't fit what you traditionally run, you better change what you run. You're gonna be more successful. And it's the same thing in the NFL. When they draft a quarterback, the only point that I was making about size is that's not the typical size that they've been drafting in the NFL. Not that it won't work, as long as you are going to develop around that player's skill set and make sure that it can work. I mean, that's the way that I look at it. Matt Corral talking about who the Carolina Panthers took, played at Ole Miss.
Yep.
He was born in Ventura, California, went to Oaks Christian School in Westlake Village, California, then transferred to Long Beach Polytech High. Now, the reason that he transferred, he said he later stated he switched schools due to Oaks Christian being for rich kids that were never going to have to work a day in their life, as well as a physical altercation with the son of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, that finalized his decision to transfer.
Sometimes our decisions are made for us.
How about that? But in high school, he threw for 11,000 yards and 123 touchdowns. He played in the 2018 USA All-American Bowl. He originally committed to play at Southern Cal and then the University of Florida before eventually choosing Ole Miss. So
it was a good pick for him.
Yeah.
It ended up being real good because Kiffin, who is absolutely a dissecting genius, when it comes to being able to, teach kids.
He just couldn't grow up.
Hey, man, get your popcorn ready, right? That's what he said.
Yep.
Corral's interesting because of his arm strength, and this could be really, really interesting because you got a guy that is kind of blue collar and not afraid. He's kind of a dirt bag, but yet I'm talking about internally, with motivation. But at the same time, he handles himself pretty well.
Yeah.
And this could get interesting. This could get interesting.
Reggie said things like that were why I laughed and shook my head at Kuiper and McShay. They were talking about how they said that he could have left last year.
Yeah.
He would have been a first-round draft pick. This year, though, with the poor offensive line, and all his weapons gone. He is dropped in the draft. He should have waited and got those weapons back and got drafted higher. Look, if you can play, you can play.
Yeah.
If you can play, you can play. There again, you've got analysts that are probably overanalyzing to some extent. Now, Sam Howell, for those that don't know, and I'm sure everybody does, he is the grandson of the great Babe Howell.
Yeah. Great is right. Great man.
And I did not know this. I thought he had some ethnicity when I saw him, but his paternal grandmother is Korean.
Okay.
His grandfather met her while stationed there in the late 60s. Now, I'm assuming paternal is your father, right? So does that mean Babes?
Must be.
Okay, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I remember asking someone because they kept showing the shots of him, from home when the draft was going on. But he was born in Waynesville, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And here again, he's 6'1", 220. Not a huge kid.
No, but he is stout.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something, Lenny. You're right about, if you can play, you can play.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is last year you saw what he had internally as far as trying to put things on his shoulders and do more with less, and so his numbers,
suffered for that,
right?
Yeah.
But you know what he was trying to do? He was showing you the intangibles that you want to see in an NFL quarterback. He was trying to take his team with whatever they didn't have, put it on him, and make it happen. Okay, now full disclosure, I went to East Carolina. I like your purple shirt.
Thank you.
And I hate everybody.
I know.
Okay, except ECU.
Somebody has to.
But I'm and of course I'm kidding when I say that. But this, I tell you what, we've got some pretty good quarterbacks in the ACC. Like State's got a kid that's going to be pretty good or is good. You had Pickett. Obviously, and people get all over DJ at Clemson. I think this year will be much more telling, coming out of restrictions and things where guys weren't able to meet as much and they had to do all this and hide behind masks. And I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have. I'm just saying it was a different world and people respond differently to those types of environments. Let's see what happens now that things are opened back up. Look, kid at Florida State, one of the kids transferred out. I think the other one's still there. There's some exciting times with these guys.
Oh, yeah. Richie said, I don't think Howell should have been a top pick, and I agree. But, here's the deal. For 2 years between the Mac is back and Sam Howell, that was 2 years of national championship contenders, when you listen to a lot of people talk. I didn't think so. I thought he was a really good, solid quarterback, but I didn't, I didn't feel like you, Richie. I think he probably went lower than I would have expected. I would have thought maybe a third round.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But, everybody looking at what needs they had, that's the biggest thing.
Well, I think that was the year, too, that people just kind of put the quarterback on the bottom shelf, and just kind of said, well, I'll grab it if I need it.
Yep.
I think this was a year where you saw wide receivers and defensive interior linemen. And, again, I just want to be very clear about something that you and I have had discussions on as far as defense goes. There's really a difference between a defensive tackle / end and an edge rusher, an edge player.
I want to talk about that. Then I'm going to give you a thought that's going to blow your mind about NFL players when we come back. Okay. This one's going to take you by surprise. We're back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit MooneyInsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with department staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you. I got 60 degrees, getting up in the 80s. Talking about thunderstorms as we roll through. Friday, about a 70% chance of rain, and I think that's the championship game of most of the baseball tournaments for the week. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how the weather goes for that. And then playoffs will start the following Tuesday. Does that sound right?
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
And then how did they play? Is it?
I believe this year it's going to – I'll look it up, but I believe they play 5 rounds. And
how many days apart, though?
I think 2. I think they go like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or they go the first week Tuesday, Friday, and then round 5 is like
okay. So I wasn't sure if they try to play 2 or 3 games in a week. All right, I want to get back to my football thoughts here, and we'll go a little bit deeper. Mason said, I thought Howell became more of a runner versus passer. And I think, Jeff, you're right, but I think that was out of necessity more than what he wants to be. He is a truly a drop-back passer. I mean, that's what he does. So I don't think he could succeed like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mark just said the same thing. He became a runner more than a passer out of necessity and survival. Richie said if he didn't run, he would have been sacked over 100 times instead of the 90 that he was.
A million times.
Yeah. Morning, sis. Go Canes. Hurricanes NHL playoffs started last night, if I'm not mistaken. I think they start the 2nd of May. Let me give you my thought. We'll expand on what you said. The difference between a defensive end and an edge rusher is because it's changed.
Right.
An edge rusher is more of a hybrid linebacker than a lineman. Now, there have been some edge rushers that were not really hybrid linebackers. They were just freaks, and the one that comes to mind is Julius Peppers. Julius Peppers was don't let anybody explain that a 6'6", 6'7" monster was ever a linebacker, but he had such freakish skills and first step and speed, he could do that edge rusher, but traditionally, and now we're starting to see a blur between positions. Look at how many safeties in college became outside linebackers in the pros.
And inside. A couple of them becoming inside.
And then you've taken some traditional outside linebackers in college and made those edge rushers.
Right.
And they're really just a linebacker that can come put their hand in the dirt on like a nine, a way outside. You're not even on a shoulder. You're just out there getting ready to turn on the jets.
Right.
So – that's one of those things that there is truly Lawrence Taylor, but Lawrence was always a linebacker.
Yeah,
even in college.
He was the guy that didn't put his hand down a whole lot.
Julius was he was a lineman, but he had those freaky skills that he could do that. They just said she heard the crack of the can from Stone Cold 4 Rembert. Yeah, he's on his second one. I'm still monstering. I'll take monsters. I cherish my kidneys more from the Diet Dew and the citric acid that's in them, but that's okay.
That kills them. It kills them.
Richie said that Georgia had 15 draft picks. The ACC had 21 draft picks from the entire conference. Still better, though, Texas did not have one player. That's going to kill them from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, they've had some kids.
And I don't know why.
Yeah, they've had some
Pull
kids
that around just a little bit.
They've had some kids that have moved out, that transferred out as well that, were pretty good players that will have an opportunity probably next year to go in.
Since Mack Brown's success years ago, it has been a revolving door at Texas, which is unbelievable. That was one of the most prestigious places there was.
Tennessee. Johnny. Yeah.
Well, I've said this before. Tennessee is not that lifelong power like people like to think, just like Florida's not either. And here, I'll be the first one to say, Clemson is not a lifetime powerhouse. They've had success later. Mark, that's a good point, Mark. Mark said Texas better up their NIL game.
But Mark's right now that oil is through the roof.
Yeah.
There may be there may be an opportunity to do that.
Andrew, thanks for getting up. It won't hurt Texas, he said. They can buy anyone they want. Thank you, NIL. Cowherd said something yesterday I thought was a great comment, and he couldn't remember what the term was when he knew what he wanted to say, but he couldn't think of the right word. And he told Joy, he said, the NIL needs the thing like they've got in bowling. You know what they got in bowling? And Joy said, bumpers, it's where you can't get in the gutter. He said, yeah, that's it. He said, there's got to be some boundaries where you got to keep them between the lines. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think you're going to see a major change. We talked about it before. I think you're going to see a major change in college athletics because of NIL, because you can't get the control back. Once you let it out, you can't get it back.
Yes, so with that, you're going to have, and you're already starting to see coaches, Jay Wright, people leave.
They just don't want to deal with that.
And this is the problem. In life, in order to have stability, you have to have consistency. All right, now that doesn't mean things don't adapt and evolve and change. But that means that, like you're talking about, you have guardrails, you have a set of rules.
You got to have rules and boundaries.
Right, and when you don't,
chaos
ensues.
Yep.
And therefore, when you have chaos, then you don't have focus. And I mean from the people that pay the money to watch the product on the field.
Yep.
And what happens is when you get outside your boundaries, and we've seen this happen to, multiple sport teams and Olympic teams, when you start talking about things and doing things that are outside your area of expertise, okay, then people start doing other things. There's a price. You got to make sure that you do what you do and you do it well, like me, for example, okay? I can talk about sports and I can talk about business and money all day long. I'm never going to have a platform where I talk about oil changes, what kind of tires you should have, okay? Anything. You kind of follow what I'm getting at. Stay within your lanes and do what you do and do it really well and provide quality and value. And that this NIL thing is going the opposite way of what college football is supposed to be.
Richie brings a great point up here. And well, I'll tell you what this is really called. But he says the NIL and the transfer portal cannot work together. They can work, but they need to be separate from each other, because what has happened is you have created, with the NIL and the transfer portal, you have created college free agency. Yeah. That's basically what you've done. You can call it what you want to, but it's college free agency. And, even though like Cowherd said, he is okay with it, but there needs to be some guidelines, because you like, for example, in the pros, in baseball, in basketball, whatever, there are dates for free agency, for trading. In college, it's not. It's the wild, wild west. And, he was saying there needs to be a dead period in college, like for college football, from September the 1st till mid-November, whatever. You can't do anything. You're there.
It should be August 1st until the end of the year.
Right.
Until every bowl game is done, including the national championship. No college. But see, this is the thing about it. There's no vetting of where you're going to school, right, and where you're going to play. I personally, regardless of the reason, coach leaves, anything else, it doesn't matter. All right, whatever. I think you should have to sit out a year. And people say, well, yeah, it's not their fault if the coach. Let me tell you something.
What about if you do that? Do they retain all their eligibility, or do they lose a year of eligibility by sitting out?
They have 5 years to play 4.
Even it
doesn't matter.
Okay.
But again, not you. I'm talking third person. You get into what is, well, that's not fair. Let me tell you something. Having a job, all right, living life, there's no preparation for the real world, right?
And there's no fair.
That's my whole point. And it's a first world problem. I can't play in college. I want to play. Okay, there's a war in Ukraine. There are people starving all over the world.
Yeah.
My point is, when we start, marginalizing things, and then not, things that really don't matter, all right, things that really do matter, we start marginalize those, but yet the world's coming to an end if you don't get to do this. This is crazy.
Life is hard. Nobody's figured that out.
But what it would do, Lanny, is if you took, or let's say I take Quinn to a school, and we're vetting that school for him to go play, it's going to make us look a lot more into the stability of the program and what it has to offer before we make our decision, knowing that if he chooses to leave or makes that decision, he's got to sit out a year, and you got 5 years to play 4. I like the tough rules because I think it brings consistency and makes people vet, instead of people just going to these universities and putting on the uniform and taking a bunch of pictures, and then going there, and after 2 weeks, well, you didn't tell me you're bringing 15 other wide receivers in. Why am I not getting to play?
Yeah.
Well, you should have done your homework.
That's right. Right.
It's just.
But even then, it's competition, and there's competition in the world in everything you do. You have no guarantees. Mark, great comment. NIL has turned the sheriff that used to be the NCAA into Barney Fife with no bullets. And the NCAA really had no power to start with, but they were the bully on the block, and now they really don't have any. Richie said there should not be a player transfer because they didn't get a $500,000 for an endorsement. There are parents out there right now that are waiting for their kids' offer for NIL before they make a decision on a college. That's wrong, people. That's wrong. Yeah. When I said they ought to get paid, I want them to get a percentage of what if there's money being made off their likeness. I'm okay with that. But the university made them just like they made the university to make that popular. But you don't negotiate contracts.
Lanny, it goes all the way down to high school, though.
I know.
There are people that came to Maiden this year to watch our defense play. Yeah, our offense was dynamic. Culver, those guys are great. But, there was a lot of money made at Maiden High for gate receipts and in the concession stand and things on watching those kids perform because they're fast. Mm-hmm. They are lightning quick. Mm-hmm. And they hit. Like, it is old school football. So the same, not argument I'm talking about third person here, of course, the same argument is being made for those kids in college. You say, yeah, but the high school kids don't have their jersey and all that. Let me tell you something. There were kids that were coming down that field wanting autographs from kids.
Sure.
Our guys that would try. There was one kid that made up Culver's jersey, like a little net jersey that he was wearing, right? That wanted to be him. Mm-hmm. Just in that, at what point do you draw the line and say, you know what? You're an athlete. You've chosen to be out here. Yeah, this is, where you are. But who built the platform that allows you to display your talents? What risk did you take as an athlete other than going out and playing? What risk financially has been taken before with all the other teams and players before you? Why did they not get a share? Because they built that platform.
The thing that
I can go down this road all day long. I can go as deep as you want to go.
The thing that concerns me is we have already seen what has happened with the NCAA sticking its head in the sand. Are we going to let it go through high school and do the same thing because everybody wants to ignore it and not pretend like it's not there and it's not going to affect us? That's not the way that it is. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is.
Didn't buy the wheat, didn't plow the field, didn't plant it, okay, harvest the crop, and eat the proceeds. All right, what about the people that laid all the groundwork before? Mm-hmm. Now, and people can disagree with that point of view. That is fine. Mm-hmm. But I will go down as deep a rabbit hole as anybody wants to go on that, and it's going to be very hard-pressed to change my mind. This is something I put a lot of thought into. Because I have to teach my own children about process and about what's what did you truly do versus the opportunities being provided for you to flourish in that setting.
But the whole thing is that there are not enough questions that are answered just on the surface. You don't have to dig very deep to find out. There's things that need to be done. It's not being done right. Great comment from Todd Hearns. I'm going to take a break. If you want fair, it's on Highway 70 in Hickory in the fall. That's the closest thing that you can come to fair. Let me take a break. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. And welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you. Let's see what else we got going on here. Richie said the Pitt wide receiver Addison was said to be looking to transfer to Lincoln Riley because his NIL deal wasn't what he was being offered from the real USC boosters or whomever. He hadn't seen it if he didn't enter the portal. You know, there's a lot of premier offensive players are going to go to Southern Cal because Lincoln Riley's there, the quarterback whisperer, and there is a ton of money, Bill Klein, good morning. Mark said the U.S. government just announced that Brittany Grenier has been wrongfully detained. Was she in Russia?
Yeah, it's Brittany Griner.
Yes. Brittany Griner.
Yes.
In other news, it's been determined that water is wet. And, I didn't really understand that whole story when it broke, and that's been going on for what, 3 weeks maybe?
A while, yeah.
It's been a while. I didn't really understand what all that meant because I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I might be a spoon. I'm not sure. But let's see if there's some headlines going on with ESPN. DeAndre Hopkins got a 6-game suspension for PEDs.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
So some of these things that these players – okay, so in order to stay healthy or some degree of healthy and to be able to – your body to take the beating that it takes at the speed of the game and how strong – these players are, your natural recovery, and what I mean by natural, I'm just talking about just regular food, just with no matter how good it is, the foods you eat, whatever, is not enough for the impact of some of these players. Now, your highest impacts are not up front. All right, those are sudden impacts, but not the highest.
Mm-hmm.
The highest are from running backs, defensive backs, really fast inside linebackers, and wide receivers, okay, because they take the brunt of the contact in the NFL. And I'm talking about full lethal force, all of these things at any time. A good hard strike could take your life. I mean, people may say it's a little extreme, but it's true. We've seen head injuries and other things that could come from it. These players have to take things, and they really don't have a choice if they're going to stay in the league for any amount of time, to help their bodies recover. Now, I do not know I have not read on the instance on this, but there's a lot of things that these players have to do in order to stay on the field, and they're willing to take the chance.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Hopkins brand manager Doug Sanders wrote in a text to ESPN's Adam Schefter that a test in November returned trace elements of a banned substance, and that tests in both the month before and after were negative.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing that bothers me about all of this. Trace elements of what? Because there are certain substances that are banned by the NFL that are not illegal and can be purchased by anyone over the counter. And so I struggle with that, because why should that be? If any individual, if it's been cleared by the government, by the FDA, by the doctors to say anyone can take this to help them if they want to enhance their performance athletically, why should that be on a banned list? And some of that stuff, it has been. I just think we concentrate way too much on that, and I don't know why. I don't – and it's not just because it's DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm like you. When you are putting your body in the situation and the environment that these guys do every day, you've got to have some extra help to get you better. If I'm an individual that's having you, for example, you've got some knee issues. You've taken certain injections through your doctor to help get that.
I did when I was in high school.
So what if some of those things showed up? But you got to have them to be able to do it. I know that where we got in trouble with some doctors doing the steroid things, the anabolic steroids. I get that, but I don't think that the stuff that they're finding now is the kind of stuff that you got from the guy at the gym and he had 70s. It in a gym bag.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think there's things that I think they've, as I've always said, that pendulum has swung too far. They tried to get it back to the middle and forgot to stop it. So now you're getting caught for things that should not be banned because it is stuff that you actually need to help your body heal. And one of those players that came out with that, and it all got kind of swept under the carpet because who it was Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, from what I had read, there were some things that showed up in his test, but, he was just trying to get his body where he could use it.
Yeah, and it made that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's such a high-character guy, an individual. Not that
I understand.
That's
yes.
not what I mean. But he was so prominent, there was no reason not to believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
From an athletic standpoint, okay,
yeah,
before you get to where you're being paid, okay, you play the game for the love of the game and because you want to compete, okay? And I would not take away personally. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm promoting it. I'm talking about my personal situation. The shots that I had in my knees in high school, okay, to be able to go out and play because I was not going to be a pro guy, right? I wanted that experience as much as I could get it to keep me on the field, to keep me on the basketball court, to keep me on the baseball field, football, everything, where I could compete as long as I could, as hard as I could, and then deal with the fallout later, which is what I'm doing now, okay? Personally, for my individual situation, I'm okay with that because that's a choice that my doctor, my mom and dad, at the time, with the information that was there, and myself, we made. And, you know, I thank God my parents are smart enough to know that just because I was really, you know, probably pretty good, okay, at football and baseball, I was, you know, above average high school basketball player at best. But for them to have the foresight to say, you know what, you know, health is extremely important, but at the same time, you only get a specific amount of time to do things in your life in these boxes. And I'm okay with that to this day.
Richie said, was this a supplement he took? The supplement field is the least regulated as to what they put in their ingredients and facts list. And I'm pretty sure, because one of the comments that he made, he has tried to do most of his treatment from a holistic way, which means you're using natural supplements and those type things, and that's probably what it is. Mark said, you must be taking PEDs. That's why your sports talk game is so strong. Ronnie said,
Hardly.
He said, Lanny, that would open up a can if medical marijuana becomes legal. Here's the other thing, Ronnie. Look at the states now where marijuana is legal but is still banned by the NFL. Right. There's and everything that I've read and heard, it does help. I mean, they've prescribed it for years for older folks with certain ailments, and a lot of those ailments that people are having are the same thing that athletes have. And I'll be honest with you, I'd rather take something like that than some of the synthetic drugs that they give you for fighting arthritis and some of the joint things that, pardon the pun, the joint things that would that athletes would go through from what they are given. Andrew said Dexter Lawrence dealt with that at Clemson and had to sit out.
Yeah, the medical marijuana thing. Let me tell you this. My grandmother was a very, very devout Christian. Okay, and she did live that life. Okay. And she became very, very sick and had breast cancer. And I was 7 years old. And I could hear her in the facility in Burlington at 7 years old, you know, crying out a little bit. And my mom and dad did a good job of making it age appropriate as much as they could, you know, protecting me from it, but still, you know, just exposing. And she would always, when my sister and I would walk in, when my brothers were born, she would always put on a, you know, best she could with a smiley face. But the only way she was able to get through, in my opinion, that pain was by the medicinal purposes for that. And thank God they let her do that, because I'm telling you, if you've never seen it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and I, you know, there's a lot of intent by many to legalize this for the right reasons, but there's always that flip side. But it can be something that's very necessary for many people to be able to, you know, live what life they got left, okay, for whatever reason. But it's always taken advantage of by others that are just looking to either make money on it or tax it.
Well, and you know, that's the thing. You just have to be careful of the things that you do. But at the same time, I think anything there needs to be some personal choice. And this is totally off the subject, but just from what I've gone through, I'm sure you've gone through. We have had such a shift that every decision that's made now is based on money, even in the medical field. Insurance companies are making the decisions on the treatments that doctors use because they're calling whether they feel like that's justified because of what it costs. And the bad part about this is, and this goes back to where we started the show this morning with the fair, okay? There are bad doctors just like there's bad cooks and bad bakers and bad retail employees. You can't get away from that. So you're going to have some that abuse the way that it's done. But is it fair to take it away from everybody that could benefit from some of this stuff because you've got some people that abuse it? I say no. We're all adults. You got to make your own decisions on what you want to do, just like you were saying. You got to make a decision on what I want to put in my body and how it affects my quality of life.
Yeah, and I think these players that are, like Andrew said, it happened at Clemson. I believe it was at Dexter Lawrence that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there was a kid either at Wake or at Carolina that
Richie just posted that defensive player got suspended for a year because of a banned substance that was in a pre-workout drink.
Okay, yeah. So it's Carolina. Okay, so the point is these people are trying to prepare their bodies, and being around athletes like I was in college and when I coached college ball and even high school, looking at these college kids, whatever. They're not trying to gain an edge from a cheating standpoint. What they're trying to do is stay in the game so they continue to improve their skill and compete. And I think there's got to be an understanding, a fundamental understanding from, the analyst in the world versus, there's always a deeper fundamental understanding of what's going on if you can be on the ground level. If you can't, you need to try to put yourself in that situation. Yeah.
Kim said, preach. She said, you know how much I've been through due to insurance hoops instead of what the doctor wants to do. They had 2 treatments. She suffered from TMJ.
Right.
And she has got one jaw joint that is completely worn out and it's going to have to be replaced. There are some alternate treatments that they can do, but it really came down to what the insurance will approve for them to do. And it goes back. She had messed up a knee that was from high school, messed up later, and then what happened was the insurance would not approve her for a knee replacement because they said she was too young.
Yes.
She had to do reconstruction,
Right.
went through reconstruction. It did not work, so less than a year later had to go in and do the surgery, so she had to go through that same thing again. And not counting, this is the part that blows my mind with the insurance companies, is they wound up spending more. They paid for a surgery that did not work because it was cheaper to start with, but not in the long run.
So last Thursday I was supposed to have knee surgery, okay, for like the 8th one, all right. So they called me at 3:30 on Wednesday. Said, we just talked to the insurance company. They are not going to approve the doctor to fix your knee. I said, what? I said, yeah. I said, because you haven't had an MRI. Now, I've had like 50 MRIs in my life, okay? I'm serious. I mean,
and they always pay for those second opinions.
Shoulder,
they spend all that money.
Neck, all the knee stuff, ankles, okay, everything, all right? Just, we all have our thing. That's kind of mine's the MRI, the big machine, of course, the big tube. As long as it's the big tube, I'm okay. But the point is they were going to let him go in and look and see if anything was wrong. But if there was, which we know obviously, whatever's left in there is not good right now, they weren't going to pay for him to fix it. They were just going to let him look. I'm serious. Without an MRI. So now I've got to pay another X amount so we can confirm what we already know. All right. And I'm not candidate yet for a knee replacement even after all these surgeries, because I still got, believe it or not, good Lord's been good to me for whatever reason, I still got cushion. I'm not bone on bone yet. I still got cushion. So I'm not, I'm still out. Even after this being number 5 or 6 on the right, I've had 2 on the left, 3. Yeah, this is number 8 total. But the insurance company. So now I got to have an MRI then for us to already go do what we know has got to be done.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
No, I just
so God bless them all. I get it. I mean, it's,
Well, it's one of those things that should not be happening. That's not the way it should be created. I don't know how that works, but it shouldn't be working. But I don't think we control any of it. That's the bad part about it. So, there's things that we need to be changed, and we all know that. And we all know that things are not fair, and you're going to have to live with that. But we'll see what happens. I do want to let you know we will have another show tonight around 6. Juju's going to join me. We missed last night, kind of got things back in order. I'm not sure if we'll be in studio or we'll be down at 3 Hermanos. If the weather's decent, but the thunderstorms worry me because we usually set up outside, but we may be down there tonight at 6. There won't be shows Thursday and Friday. I got some traveling to do, so let you know about that. So tomorrow morning, will be the last one for this week, and then hopefully things will kind of settle down and change up so we kind of get things going. Two quick things I want to mention. Hugh Jackson had filed a complaint with the NFL on discrimination, and those claims have been unsubstantiated, so he's kind of withdrawing his thing. And then here's the other one that blows my mind, and I'm hoping Brian Flores will stick to his guns. But because I've said this before, Roger Goodell does not need to be judge, jury, and executioner. Brian Flores' lawyer argues against Roger Goodell arbitrating a lawsuit versus the NFL. He is not objective. He works for the NFL. He is going to take the owner's best interest at heart, because that's who pays him his $50 million a year.
Yes.
But he is a wrong way to resolve a lawsuit that alleges racial hiring practices in the NFL, and that it's unconscionable for Roger Goodell to be the arbitrator. If Roger Goodell had anything hanging between his legs, he would remove himself, because it's not right by all parties involved. But he's not going to, because he's the man with the power. He's the man to power.
And I don't disagree with anything you said. You are exactly right. But like you said, who does he work for?
That's right.
And, in the end, the league is owned by the owners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're going to control the narrative. Now, do I agree with that? No. Okay, I think there needs to be, make sure that things are on a level playing field and that people have opportunities. We all agree with that. But to think that things are going to change, as long as they can hold power, they're not going to let it go.
And here's the part. Former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, representing the NFL, told the judge that the league believes all claims in this lawsuit must be moved to arbitration according to the terms of employment agreements. Here's the deal, and players, you let this happen. You agreed to this. There were certain things that's outside of just the money and how many hours we got to practice and how many games we've got to play. There are things inside that contract that you should have addressed that had long-lasting, far-reaching effects, and nobody did. I don't want to practice this many hours. I don't want to do OTAs. I don't want to play that many games. I just want my money. Everything comes at a cost. But you needed to put some other things. You should have got rid of the fifth-year option. You should have got rid of a bunch of that stuff.
Throw everything out and go year-to-year contract.
I like that.
The problem is that people need financial stability, in this world, and I don't I don't blame them for trying to get what they can get, to secure their families.
But the problem that I have with it is quit whining about the terms that you agreed to.
There's too much of that going on, and if a player does not finish their contract,
Mm-hmm.
they're allowed to sit out, go to another team.
No, I think they should stay and play all of their years under the contract, or you can't play. You don't play.
If you don't, think about what Reinsdorf and Scottie Pippen had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
or Scottie Pippen went through. Reinsdorf told him, Scottie signed a 1-year deal. Scottie said, Mr. Reinsdorf, I can't. He's like, and Jerry Reinsdorf told him, you're not getting what you are properly entitled to based on what the market's going to pay if you sign a multi-year deal, because Stern has turned this thing into an amazing league.
People don't want to bet on themselves.
And Scottie was he was very clear. He said, I have all these brothers and sisters, my family. I've got to take care of these people. And then 2 to 3 years later, Pippen's like, well, I'm not getting paid. And Reinsdorf told me, if you sign this contract, I'm not addressing again until it's done.
Right. That's right.
He told him.
Well, that's the way it should be. You can't have it both ways.
Because he said, this is the way we do business.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Scottie, I'm telling you, just sign 1 year like Michael does.
Yep.
Scotty's like, well, I can't. I don't have all the endorsement. Now, he had a lot, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but he wasn't destitute.
No. Yeah,
that's the part that pisses me off.
Anyway, there's just a fine line there.
Yeah. Well, I just can't make it on $400 a week. I'm sorry. I mean, stupid. Jackie Robinson All-Star Game bat sold at auction for $1.08 million. It was from 1949. And Ronnie says, let's all go to performance contracts. I'd like a part of that, but it needs to not only be individual but team as well, so that you're not just out there trying to make your money. Bob asked, any update on Butch Parker? Butch is doing pretty well. From my understanding, no lasting physical issues from the stroke that he had. The things he's got going on, doing some rehab, but I think overall he's doing pretty good. I did see a picture of him from over the weekend from some prom pictures, so I think all in all, but thanks for asking, Bob. All right, that's going to do it for us. Got to get out of here. See you tonight about 6. Have a great day.